Well, the Miami Marlins have actually done it after dropping the opening game of the series of this weekend series against the Mets. The Fish are able to reel out three consecutive wins to improve their record to 58 and 55, as thanks to a tremendous pitching effort from Sandy Alcantara and company, as well as a Mack home run, the Marlins are able to come out of Queens with a 2-0 shutout to take 3 of 4 in this 4 game set. So just a wonderful, wonderful game by the Marlins today. Obviously, the story of this game is the pitching staff. Sandy Alcantara started once again, and for the second consecutive outing, was able to toss a scoreless performance, did not give up a run, ended up getting through 6 innings today while allowing 4 hits, but striking out 5 batters to go against 2 walks. Just another Sandy Alcantara type effort that you expect from him. The ace of this staff, one of the longest tenured, if not the longest tenured Marlins on this roster, getting the job done as you expect once again. Once again, too, over 100 pitches. I know that he's the ace of the staff, so you kind of expect him to work this much and have this much of a workload this deep into the season, but I'm kind of getting worried, about how much stamina he has left to get through the rest of the season and if it'll be enough to actually help us get into the postseason. But just a wonderful, again, had his command. The pitches that he was missing were pretty much up and high in the outside corner, or in the inside corner, rather. But as usual, gets through everything. He gives us the start that we need from him. And that's the most important thing. Sandy Alcantara gives us what we need from him. Plain, simple, cut and dry. On the 102 pitches, he threw 62 strikes. So just, like I said, what you expect from him. Great job today. I enjoyed watching him pitch as usual. And obviously, he's had his struggles in New York as well. Very similar to Eury Perez. So the fact that we got to see him on the bump in a situation where we could have won the series, and for him to actually pitch the way he did was awesome. Great to see as usual, and Marlins fans definitely going to be happy that he will be sticking around once again for the foreseeable future. Obviously, he is the one name that is not involved in any trade talks this season, so very happy that Sandy is staying and that he was able to toss another gem, a gem that we needed, quite frankly. But although he was able to get through 6 innings, scoreless innings, he did run into some trouble in the 7th. Again, you can kind of go back and forth with this one. Did Clay McCullough make the right decision to keep Sandy in the 7th if he knew he was going to go to Petersen? Obviously, Michael Petersen ended up coming in the game, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. But, obviously Sandy Alcantara being the ace, you sort of expect him to be out there in the 7th, but since he eclipsed the 100 pitch mark through 6, you were kind of wondering, is it smart to put him in the game and leave him in there for another inning? Clayton decided to take the risk, an understandable risk, and it did not work out as Sandy ended up Sandy ended up allowing a single to Luis Robert Jr., and then in the ensuing at-bat, a double to Jared Young, which advanced Robert from first to third base. So Sandy gets pulled, leaving two runners in scoring position, Robert on third and Jared Young on second. And then in comes Michael Petersen. And my God, I don't even know what to describe what we saw today from him. And obviously, if you saw the game, you'll probably be saying the same thing too. Comes in the game, and his first batter is Marcus Simien of the Mets. Mikey ends up walking Simien, ends up allowing a walk, which loads the bases. Obviously, bases loaded situation, that's a no-no. That's a situation that nobody wants to be in. Mikey Petersen already coming into a tough situation with the runners on second and third, and then he walks Marcus. That's a bad sign. I was watching the game and I was expecting, the worst. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. But somehow, some way, Petersen is able to get through the inning unscathed, alive, not even giving up a run. The Mets stranded the bases loaded as Petersen was able to strike out both Jorge Polanco and Francisco Alvarez, and then was able to force a 3-4 ground out when A.J. Ewing came up to bat with 2 outs. So that was sort of, miraculous. I know that I was not celebrating, more breathing out of relief that Petersen was able to get out of that jam. And it sort of picked the team up and, lifted the team. And you can kind of, obviously that was the Mets' best chance to score and basically force a series tie. But you can kind of feel the air go out of their balloon once they ended up stranding the bases loaded. Michael Petersen, by far the player of the game in this one. I looked on MLB.com, and he is the player of the game. He was voted the player of the game by the fans, and rightfully so. That right there is snuffing out the opposition's best chance to score with the bases loaded in a game that you have to win with the series win on the line. Just impeccable. Absolutely impeccable. Great stuff from Mikey Petersen today. Very, very proud of him and thankful that he was able to get out of that because we needed that badly. And then, the 8th inning, Tyler Zuber comes in, allows 1 hit, gets through the 8th, and Pete Fairbanks, I'm not going to lie, kind of got a little scary in the 9th inning. But he was able to get out of it. He allowed walks to both Jared Young and Francisco Alvarez, ironically. So the same dudes that, had a chance or that were in on the madness that we saw in that Michael Petersen inning came up to bat. And ended up drawing walks. But that was it. The Mets, a runner at first, runner at second. Pete Fairbanks stays composed, and he gets his 4th consecutive save and his 5th straight scoreless outing. So Pete Fairbanks, great job from him. His 17th save of the season. And that's pretty much it. Offensively, listen, this team is bipolar. I mentioned it in a recap several games ago. This team is bipolar, but this offense specifically is the catalyst for why this team has a bipolar image, at least in my eyes. How can you go from scoring 6 runs and getting 10 hits to not doing anything today? The Marlins, usually, whenever they score 2 runs or less, that's an automatic loss. But for the second time we've done that, we actually won a game. Because remember, we ended up having a 1-0 win a little while back. So, kind of interesting. Joe Mack, the solo shot in the 5th, which broke the scoreless tie. He was the only Marlin with the multi-hit performance today. The only guy, the super rookie, as I like to call him, 5 home runs since the start of July. Obviously, he had that stretch where I think he homered in 3 or 4 games at one point in the month. I believe that was against Cleveland, Seattle and Cleveland. I could be wrong on that, but he did have a stretch where he homered him, in like 4 out of 5 games or 3 or 4 games. But he's been doing good. And to be honest with you, dude, honestly, Joe Mack should be in consideration for National League Rookie of the Year. He's been that good. Okay, like he's getting hits, he's accumulating RBIs, driving in home runs. He's having his best month of his career, or July was, I guess, the best month of his short career so far. 11 homers already for him. Goes 2 for 3 today, and he's doing it both ways. Me and Colin talked about it a while back too. In our last episode, Joe Mack doing it both ways. He's getting his stuff done offensively, and then defensively, he's rock solid. Catching games effortlessly, throwing out guys just like Pudge Rodriguez. I talked about it. This kid is special. He is extremely special, and if he's not even in the top 3 for NL Rookie of the Year voting this year, then that's just an obvious sign that Major League Baseball and a lot of sports leagues just clearly do not like Miami having teams at all, because, he should at least be in consideration for that. There's no reason for him to snub him. There's absolutely no reason for him to not be in that conversation, because he deserves it. He deserves it. He's having one heck of a season. So he homered in the 5th. And then we got another run in the 9th. Xavier Edwards, of all people, struggling mightily. I talked about it in yesterday's recap. not doing so good, but he adds an insurance run for us in the ninth as he allowed Otto Lopez to scamper home to make it 2-0, and that's where the score would stand, of course, in a 2-0 shutout. So, X, at least he was able to get that. At least he was able to drive home a run today, get that insurance run that we sorely needed, because you can't win games 1-0 all the time. That's just, you can't make a habit of that. He ends the series 3 for 17. But the one thing that I wanted to note, of course, I talked about this offense being bipolar. Almost everybody hitting, almost everybody being a contributor yesterday, and today, 5 different Marlins went hitless, including Owen Casey, who went 0 for 3 in his return back to the lineup. So, exciting return, exciting to see him back in the lineup, back on the field, but uneventful for him. And then also, Kyle Stowers went 0 for 4 today as well. I know that Javier Sanoja went hitless as well, and there's another guy that I'm missing that I did not write down here, unfortunately. But yeah, 5 different Marlins went hitless, man. Lopez especially had a rough series. You can make an argument that this series was his roughest of the season as he finished the 4-game weekend set with a 2 for 17 stat line. Not good. You won't, obviously, hopefully he gets back into a groove soon. This is just the natural ups and downs for a batter during a Major League Baseball season. Nothing to be too worried about, but again, it still sticks out at you, considering the year that Otto Lopez has had up to this point. So when you see him have a series like this, it's almost like a shocker, because obviously he's been the team's best player in 2026. But hopefully comes back against the Braves, swinging, mashing, getting contact, getting on base, because we're going to need that against the Braves, because this series against the Braves is going to be a difficult one as we travel to Truist Park starting on Tuesday. So what does this win mean? So obviously, like I said, 58-55 record. We get a series win against the Mets. We basically purged the demons that we ended up sustaining from our series in May by getting swept in ugly fashion at Citi Field. So luckily, we were able to put that one behind us, put that series behind us, come back, get a win, get a series win. Basically ruined the 86 Mets reunion yesterday. Was a nice cherry on top of the weekend ice cream sundae. And as of right now, we're 6-4 against the moribund Mets this season, with 3 more games to be played in Miami on September 7th through 9th. So we see them next month as we wrap up the regular season. And with the win now, we are 1 game once again behind the ridiculously annoying Phillies for the last National League wildcard playoff spot. Of course, several games are still going on. Last time I checked, the Diamondbacks are losing. The Phillies, they're up 8-0 on Baltimore, so they're gonna win. Diamondbacks losing, like I said. The Padres are up 4-0 on the Giants last time I checked. But the Nationals, Pirates, and Cubs lost today. Cardinals did pick up a win in Toronto, I believe 5-1 was the final score. So we have several teams in the NL playoff race losing. Some of them are winning. So it was nice for the Marlins to get this win, because obviously if we would have lost, probably would have been, I would say 2 games out, or a game and a half out, 2 games out. I would say 2 games out. A great series win for the Marlins. Very, very excited that they were able to, get another series win. So make that 6 out of our last 7 after the 12-game losing streak. So team is looking like they're on the trajectory back up. Hopefully they continue this as we go into Atlanta on Tuesday. We have an off day tomorrow, and that'll be interesting because obviously with no game tomorrow means we get to spend all day looking at what the Marlins are going to be doing at the trade deadline. The deadline is at 6 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. I'll be looking at everything, and we'll see if they make a trade. Of course, Liam Hicks is the most likely candidate to get shipped out of here, but also seeing reports that Xavier Edwards is still in talks, and now Kyle Stowers all of a sudden is in trade talks. Hopefully we don't trade anybody. I don't see why Peter Bendix would trade any of these guys if there's no depth or no backup option at a certain position. And also, we're still in the playoff race. Again, one game out of a National League wildcard playoff spot as of this recording. Why would you want to blow up the roster when you're in a postseason chase? Sounds stupid to me. Hopefully, Peter Bendix and the front office have the same mindset that I have, and we will see what the Marlins do tomorrow during the trade deadline before we take on the NL East leading Atlanta Braves for a 3-game set starting on Tuesday night in Truist Park at the ATL. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Remember to please like, comment, share, subscribe. And until next time, go fish.